What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Monday, everybody. I'm back. It was a long weekend. We had a blast, but we're back to it. And during the weekend, a lot of things happened as usual. So I want to cover a little bit of what happened there. If my face seems a little bloated, it's because I just took a fat nap, but I feel much better. So let's get to it. The first video we're going to cover today is David Grusch. Yesterday, there was a question directed at Ross Coulthart, who has direct access to David Grusch. And Ross revealed something that we didn't know that is going to happen. I'm thinking that it's already recorded. And in order to understand what this new interview from David Grusch is probably going to be about, we have to go back to at least 2 years when David Grusch gave a conversation to Wall Street bigwigs in New York City and to a lot of people from different walks of life. And this one, I first caught it when it came out on Reddit through my friend Toby from KGRA. He was the one who posted the picture that was on Reddit, on that Reddit post. But recently, Christian Harloff covered it, and I realized that Red Panda Koala made an audio file with the conversation. And this is something that I've done before, so I did it too. I did an audio file with that picture as the background. And I'm going to play it to you just so you know what he discussed 2 years ago. And it's been 2 years since he hasn't given a talk similar to this one. This is what potentially his op-ed is going to be about. And I don't know if he's going to talk about this in his new interview that may or may not be already recorded. But I do got to say, though, when Colonel Carl Nell spoke on the New Paradigm Institute World Disclosure Day, I think it's called, I think that between the lines, he said that the 2017 effort led by Lou Elizondo and the people from To the Stars Academy is essentially dead. I don't know if you guys gathered this as well, but I think that Colonel was politely asking Lou to take a back seat for good. That's what I gathered. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do know that if this interview with David Grusch or his op-ed for that matter come out, or when they come out, I would like to hear David address the mistakes made by Lou, and I would like to hear him speak on the harassment that he's been under and how he was shown a weapon as he was parking on the Capitol to go to a skiff. I want him to discuss some of the things that have happened over the last year or so that have affected him. The release of his medical records, how he was apparently doxxed before he came out publicly. I had no idea that this happened, and Tupacabra on X did a documentary about it. And it gets really dark. I really don't want to get into any of that because I know that currently there is like a confrontation going on between people from the UFO community where things got really heated, and there were even threats against people's lives, and it gets really dark. And honestly, I really want to stay out of that. So, but I do know that if Grush comes out to talk, there is a possibility that he addresses a lot of this bullshit. And when that happens, that's going to be significant, I think, because to me and to this day, even though he hasn't been that public, and this goes to Colonel Carl Nell as well, I think that those two remain the most serious on the topic and the people that do seem to have the most answers on the topic. So, of course, I want to see them speak publicly and see what they have to say. Of course, I want to read David Grush's op-ed. Of course, I want to see the upcoming interview. But listen to what he presented 2 years ago in New York City, right here.
I actually went to a private 60-person presentation with David Grusch as the speaker. This was mostly all private citizens, as in professors, lawyers, business people, a few scientists, retired military, current FBI, and other government agency members. In the end, we were allowed to ask questions. Some asked him about this, And what he said was that he was part of an extremely secret program that had figured out how to track and find UAP in our atmosphere and near Earth orbit. He said his op-ed will include many more details regarding this. It was hosted by a Wall Street bigwig and his lawyer friend. It was sort of a small saloon-style Tom. David also did it for free, even went as far as to fly into NYC just for this. He had arrived only a few hours beforehand and then left first thing the next day. The idea was to get a group of both skeptics and believers from all these different walks of life for a talk regarding David and the things he has said. Most of the people who left had left as believers, or at the very least believed that David was not lying and truly believed everything he said. He also mentioned a few other things that I haven't heard him say before. Like that, he was told about a UAP that was in our possession that had a diameter of around 40 feet. But once you went inside, it was the size of a football field. They believed that the object was somehow able to manipulate both space and time. He also said that the object was both using and creating energy that was more than a terawatt when measured, which is an absolutely ridiculous amount of power, something along the lines of 1 trillion watts. He also mentioned that he had recently been informed that a U.S. adversary was considering full disclosure to get out ahead of the U.S. and that he passed this information along to the U.S. government. He also alluded to the retaliation that was taken against him. It sounded pretty terrifying, and he wasn't the only one to be retaliated against. Multiple people involved in not only his investigation, but also his fellow peers in the UAP task force, such as Jay Stratton, were also threatened. He wouldn't go too much into it since it's an open investigation, but these people pretty much showed him that they could touch him or his family anytime they wanted. He also mentioned that the U.S. had taken part in a fair number of crash retrievals before 1933. Also, that we wouldn't be surprised by what the NHI look like, such as they look like the typical gray and they aren't sure where these beings have come from. There is also a chance that they are extra-dimensional, but that it could also just seem this way because of the technology they use, rather than them being actual extra-dimensional beings. Interestingly, he also mentioned how many people know the full scope of the phenomenon to be no more than 50 people, but it wasn't clear whether this meant 50 people currently alive or 50 people ever in history. All in all, it was extremely interesting and pretty hopeful for the future of disclosure. This was after the UAP amendment was shut down, and he believes we will know much more in the near future. And apparently it was the only private non-government talk that he has done so far. As for how I feel about everything after hearing him speak, he is extremely smart. I mean, he has an almost unbelievable memory and knowledge about intel laws and other things that have to do with UAP. My opinion is that he is the real deal. Almost everyone left that night fully believing what he was saying, or at the very least, that he believed what he was saying as the truth. So either way you cut it, I believe he is telling the truth as he knows it. About how they tracked UAP. No, I believe he said that this had something to do with a frequency that they can track, or some kind of signature.
So then Ross answered the following question. And during the most recent Sunday reality check Q&A. So here it is.
Hi, Ross. With Age of Disclosure releasing soon, do you think it will move the needle for disclosure, still after being delayed for a couple of years, along with pretty high prices to buy on Amazon? Also, do you think that there's a chance of David Grusch's op-ed ever coming out?
Okay, there's two questions there. Let me deal with the David Grusch one first. I don't think I'm giving anything away if I say I think there's going to be a David Grusch interview coming up soon, like a TV interview. That's to come. Let's just wait and see what happens there. As for the op-ed, that's up to the mainstream media organisations that appear to be doing their level best to try and suppress this story. I certainly know David's been very keen to get his viewpoint out there, hence the new interview.
Okay, so we got potentially a new David Grusch interview on a big TV network that is potentially coming out. We still don't know what the content of that will be, but I did want to show you that from 2 years ago, just so you know what he can share about his experience. And I would categorize this as firsthand experience, if you ask me. But we won't know for sure until he comes out and he speaks about everything that he can. I honestly wasn't expecting for Grusch to speak publicly right now because he's just so private, and he does hold meetings with a lot of people in private. I know some of them, but he doesn't really go out publicly to speak on these matters lately or recently. So I don't know what this will be about, but I'm excited to see if it drops and when it drops, what the content of this interview will be. And honestly, I hope that he does address the entire movement and how it's going, how he feels about the UAPDA not passing for a third time, how he feels about new whistleblowers coming forward on hearings. Does he feel that the hearings are like having the effect that he wants? I would like to hear so many things from him about the retaliation he's gotten, about that Ken Klippenstein article, about his name being ousted before he came out on News Nation back in June 2023. I think Danny Sheehan mentioned his name a month before that. So people knew about him. And now that he's helping Burleson, he helped select the people for the hearing, all this stuff, it would be really refreshing to hear him speak and see where his mind is at. That'd be really cool. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. What do you think about this conference that he gave 2 years ago in New York City, about the content of this conference? And what do you think about this upcoming interview? Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you see, I want to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like David Grusch. Always. Bye.